Thank you for being here and joining us for this webinar on succession planning. As we get started, a few reminders. Please use the Q&A section for any questions today, and remember to be constructive in any of those questions or comments to the presenters and to one another to ensure that we have a session that is productive. AIA California will submit one AIA learning unit for those who complete the session in full. And as always, our webinar content will be available online after the session. Today's session, which will focus on best practices for succession planning and leadership transition, is brought to you by BQE. Again, it qualifies for one learning unit for those who watch live. AIA California will report that for you once you have finished the session in full. Now, to quickly introduce our presenter. As a distinguished thought leader, Steve blends his passion for design and firm management with profound insights into emerging technologies. Over the past 2 decades, working directly with over 1,400 firm owners, Steve has significantly contributed to reshaping these businesses for enhancing growth and sustainability. Steve's career highlights include a 7-year tenure at SOM Chicago, founding BBA Architects in 1993 and growing it to 17 architects before its 2007 sale, and creating ArchiOffice, a groundbreaking project management software company acquired by BQE Software in 2010. Recognized for his significant impact on the profession, in 2009, Steve was elevated to the College of Fellows of the American Institute of Architects. And currently the founder of the Well-Designed Firm, he focuses on leading AE firms to operational excellence, mentoring leaders to craft businesses as elegant and innovative as the architecture they create. So now on to today's presentation. Steve, thank you for being here. Please take it away.
Okay, Rebecca, thank you for that embarrassing introduction. And I guess replace the current share. I'll go ahead and share my screen, and hopefully you can all see that. Thank you, everybody, for joining me today. I know it's the day before Halloween, and or 2 days before Halloween, but yeah, a couple days before. Anyway, I'm sure you got lots of preparation work to do there, but I have a really great topic. It's something I kind of hinted at in the past, at least in past webinars, if you've ever been to any of my other webinars. But I think time has really come for us to tackle this head on. It's succession planning and it's leadership transition. And today, kind of in my current capacity as a business coach to small AE firms, it is the one area where I always find firm owners just are not paying attention. I will go into some details today, but the fact is that most of you are paying attention to some form of a retirement account, meaning you're thinking about your future. You're just not connecting the dots. That your firm in itself is also part of that investment portfolio. And the problem is your retirement account is it's an investment that is typically out of sight. It's out of mind. Somebody else is going to be managing that for you, but it's your firm that requires you to deal with it on a day-to-day basis and at least to deal with it as an investment. Now, toward the end of this presentation, I'm going to actually share with you a case study of a firm I've worked with and what that founder's exit looked like. We're going to look how much was invested in the firm at its founding and what a successful transition really looks like, both personally and also financially. So please don't leave today's presentation before the end, because I am saving the best for last. Before we dive in, sometimes I just want to share this next slide. Because Rebecca did a little introduction on me, I'm not going to spend too much time here, but after my master's degree, I really had my first 7 years at SOM, really got to understand how a beautiful firm can be managed. But up until that point, by the way, for those 7 years, I really was looking at work as really no different than being in school. All that really mattered to me was creating the finest architecture possible. And then after 7 years, I got that little itch and I opened up my first business. It was BBA Architects in 1993. And that was really kind of an awakening. I realized that this is what we are in is first and foremost a business, and its product is architectural services. So that's kind of like an unwelcome awakening, and I recognized I either needed to really grow professionally or risk having a business fail. And I think many of you who have opened your own businesses have had a similar realization. I did create another company a few years after that. It's a technology company. It's very, very different kind of a business. I'm not going to waste any time now because I have so much to cover. So I'll just let you know in this process, I was able to successfully sell an architectural firm and move on from that. I sold a software business and moved on from that. And I also was able to sell my ownership or a majority stake of my ownership to a private equity firm from the second software company that I was a part of. So I've had a lot of experience at different kinds of business exits, and it's given me some interesting insights. And also, I think what I could say are kind of like unique insights about how a business becomes a part of your portfolio. So, if there had been a law, this is kind of like an mental exercise I've done, because there is really no barrier for ownership of a business. All you really need to do is have enough money in the bank for maybe 6 months and hang out your shingle. But if there was a law that actually stated you needed to invest a minimum of $1 million into your business, pretty much all of us would need to go to the bank and finance that somehow, or like you do a mortgage, and that lender is going to really do some due diligence because they're going to want to prove that you can get your money back. Now, if that was the law, I think only a fraction of firms would exist, but they would be beautifully run businesses. Okay. Now, unless you are Kanye West or you are Elon Musk, you don't invest in things that will not bring you a return, or you don't invest in things that will degrade in value. So, just want to make that point to you as well. So I'm going to move on because this is a lot more I want to cover. Now, as architects, a lot of us will hit our peak maybe in our 60s, long after others have started winding down their careers. And we often say we will work until we die because it's our passion that drives us. But even for those who plan to work indefinitely, the reality is that retirement accounts aren't just about stopping work. They're actually about giving yourself some options and giving yourself some financial security. Building value in your firm is critical, but also contributing to a 401k or something similar is equally essential to ensure that you will be prepared for any eventuality, whether you choose to step back or maybe life just decides this for you. When we think about retirement, our minds typically will go to familiar things like the 401k or an IRA, or maybe your real estate investments, because these are essential tools. But I just have to ask you, are they actually enough to give you the freedom that you genuinely seek? So in a couple of minutes, I'm going to share a chart with you that challenges this notion that a traditional retirement account will be sufficient for your lifestyle needs. And if you are like most professionals, especially those in architecture, you've been diligently putting some money into a retirement account. Maybe you've built a solid real estate portfolio, but I want you to consider that there are limitations to these kinds of plans. Start with a 401k. Yes, it is going to be reliable, but it does come with restrictions. There's going to be a cap as to how much money you can contribute every year. And that value of that account is going to be tied directly to the performance of the stock market. So you're essentially handing control of a retirement account over to some market forces. And while markets will generally go up over time, we all see what can happen when they don't. Additionally, there are a typical 401k, the withdrawal rate at retirement will probably not cover the lifestyle that you've worked so hard to create. Now, there's real estate. We often seen that as like the golden goose in our retirement, but it doesn't come without some risks on its own. It is not liquid. Sure, it's a solid investment in the long run, but trying to turn a real estate into cash when you need it. That could take months, and for some of you, it might take years. Plus, the real estate market is highly local. There could be an economic downturn in your area, and suddenly your property isn't actually worth as much as you thought it would be. And let's not forget that there are ongoing costs for that. There's maintenance, there's property taxes, um, potential vacancies if it is a rental property. So while those traditional options are, I think, foundational in your overall perspective about your future, they're not the complete picture. And it's especially not a complete picture if you own a business. And that's why we're going to shift our focus to a kind of a different, often overlooked retirement asset, your firm. Now, let's talk again about the real estate. I want to talk about the actual asset that gets overlooked besides the real estate and the 401k, and that is the firm. You've spent years, maybe you've spent decades, you've been building this practice. It's more than just a source of income. It's an engine for value creation. But a lot of firm owners don't really realize this, that their business could be the most valuable retirement asset. And here is why. Unlike the 401k, there is no contribution cap on the value of your firm. The potential for its growth is unlimited. You have complete control over how valuable your firm becomes by maybe improving efficiency or expanding your services, building a strong team, developing a clear market position. Every single decision you make can contribute to the future value of your business. And what's more, your firm offers you something that 401k, maybe even that real estate investment can't. It offers you control. You control how it operates, and you can actively shape its future value. And when you have the right planning, your firm has the potential to generate much more than some kind of a passive return. It can be sold, it can be transitioned to a new owner, it could be retained as a cash flowing asset. So, succession planning isn't just simply about selling it. You can still retain it, but remove yourself from the day-to-day operations. And we'll look at that later. So let's imagine a future where you've built a firm into something that can run without you. Clients keep coming in, project can continue to operate smoothly, and you have a leadership team that is thriving. You are no longer bound by the firm, but the firm can continue to generate value for you. That's a form of financial security and freedom that's actually difficult to achieve through those other investment vehicles I was talking about earlier. And that is why your firm should be treated as one of the most significant pillars of a retirement strategy. It's not just about accumulating, money. It's about designing a business that can be transitioned in a way that rewards you for all of that work that you have put in over the oftentimes decades. So, Rebecca, we have a poll question, the first poll question of, I think, 3 today. So this is, I'd like to know, do you currently contribute to a retirement account? And if so, is it a 401k? Is it either a simple plan or an SEP, or which is a simplified employee pension plan, or is it some sort of a traditional retirement account? Is it an IRA, a Roth IRA, or I don't currently contribute to a retirement account? And Rebecca, when you sense that the folks today have stopped logging in their votes, some of them probably just turned on the webinar and are doing something else, so they're kind of absent. Let's share the results with everybody here today.
All right, they're still trickling in, but we'll give it a few more moments.
Yeah, appreciate it if we could do these fast, because I have a lot to cover, and the good stuff's at the end, and I want to make sure I get enough time for that. Okay, so 2/3 of you are contributing to a 401k, so that is absolutely fantastic. But on the other end of this thing, 8% of you are currently not contributing. So a lot of what I'm going to say in this next few slides, I really want you to take a close listen to it, because it's going to be really, really important. But before I dive into those details, I want to talk about a common misconception that I see most firm owners have, um, which is why they're not really paying attention to succession planning. And I'm just impressed that we have as many as we do today who are actually willing to attend something like this. So the first misconception is, look, I'm a sole proprietor. I work alone. There is no reason to consider succession planning because I can't actually imagine even having a successor. This is the sort of quintessential lifestyle business owner. So it's not about passing on your firm. It's just about ensuring that when you are ready to step away, you can do it smoothly with financial security. Even a lifestyle business can have value. You have client relationships. You might have some intellectual property, how you run your business, how you execute a project, your reputation in your geographic area. These things can be monetized or at least transitioned. So a solid plan will ensure that you will be able to step away from your company on your terms without actually leaving money or leaving, better yet, this opportunity on the table. It's very sad for me. I had a call probably about 2 months ago from an older architect in Georgia, and he was finally realizing he's getting older and tired, and he wants to exit. And he's been doing incredible work on an island, sort of a vacation island off of the coast of Georgia. And it's finally occurred to him that nobody in his small company is able to actually take over the business. And therefore, all he's worked for what was over 30 years is just going to quietly shut down. And that's just the saddest thing to think about. Okay, so next up is succession planning is really only necessary when you are close to your retirement. And the reality is, planning for succession is like building value in a firm over time. So the earlier you start, the more options you're going to have. It's not just about preparing for the exit, but about designing a firm that will thrive with or without you. Number three is, I'll sell it when I'm ready. The truth is, without careful planning, your firm may not be attractive to buyers or successors. Buyers are looking for a business that is sustainable and not reliant on the founder. Succession planning allows you to create a business that can hold its value whether or not you are there. The last misconception is my retirement accounts are enough. You think your 401k or your real estate investments, that is sufficient for you. And while, again, these are critical pieces in the puzzle, your firm is most likely the most significant asset. And without a plan to transition that asset, you are leaving potential wealth on the table. So succession planning ensures that your firm is an asset that continues to generate value long after you have stepped back. So these misconceptions of yours that I see, I should say, they can prevent a firm owner from recognizing the real value of succession planning. It's not just about continuity. It's about maximizing the return on the years of hard work that you have invested in your business. Just imagine if you worked on renovating your house, you lived in it for 40 years, you keep building and improving it, putting in a new kitchen, all the things, a new roof. And then when you decide to leave that house, you don't sell it. You've had 40 good years in that house. You've had lots of great, you raised your family, you've had incredible parties and all the rest, but you're done with it, so you just demolish it. That's what a lot of firms do when they invest 40 years in a business. Now, what I've done here for the 8% of you that are not currently investing in a retirement account is I've created a chart that plots 3 different retirement account approaches. The first line that you see right now, it's in magenta, and it tracks a retirement account that was not started until about 10 years after this young architect started working. Now, in this case, the individual waited until they were, let's say, 35. So let's say they started working at 25 years old, and then they worked for 40 years in this analysis, and they did nothing for the first 10 years. But once they started contributing, they started to put in the absolute maximum that was allowed by law now along with, because it's a 401k, a 5% salary match from their employer. So it follows this trajectory with an 8% annual compound growth rate. And it also tracks what the average salaries are for architects as they go through a career based on survey data. And then it also takes what can that contribution be? But at the end, when they are now 65 years old, that retirement account has a balance of about $3.5 million and is going to yield an annual income of $175,000. But that $175,000 is going to be coming out in the year 2040. So that's 16 years from now, which is really the equivalent of a salary today of somewhere between $95,000 and like $125,000. So if you are an average small firm owner and you maybe include your Social Security benefits that you get at that age, you're only going to be making about 75% of whatever that salary is you would expect when you retire. Now, this next line, this yellow line, is a worker who realized the value of socking away money for retirement, starting at their very first job when they were 25, but they were only taking the minimums from their salary each pay period. Younger workers, they have typically lower paying salaries. Combine that with their lack of awareness for retirement, and their need to kind of like enjoy their life while they think they can. They don't have that money, but they were putting in the absolute minimums. And in that same case, when you put in the minimums over that same time period, you're basically at the same point. Okay. Instead of 3.5, you're like $3.6 million. So the well-meaning professional who's contributing the minimum for every paycheck for 40 years, they have a balance of almost the same as the one who delayed it for 10 years and just made up for that with the maximum. Now let's see what actually happens if you were disciplined and from a very early age, you took the maximum allowed by law from your salary every single pay period. You put that into your 401k along with an employer match of 5%, and you had the 8% annual compound annual growth rate. You would end up with a balance of $6.2 million. That income will be about $300,000 a year. So if you reverse index that to 2024 dollars, that's about a $200,000 salary today. So the individual who contributed the minimum, the one in the yellow line over that 40-year period, they actually experienced an opportunity cost of $2.6 million. So I'm going to hear people say, hey, Steve, that person who was investing the minimum, they got the use of that money. While it's true, the money they took home, it was taxed, and maybe it was used to pay down debt like a student loan or maybe some alternative investments. I don't know. There's no way its upside would equal the $2.6 million that they lost out on by not contributing. So my short message here is please contribute the absolute max. And so I know 67% of you are going to your 401k. Make sure you put in the max. You will thank me for that sometime in the future. Now, my consultancy is the Well-Designed Firm, and I take the notion of good design very seriously. And I'd like to discuss designing your firm to have long-term value. So let's start by thinking about how we design a building. There's a lot of emphasis on durability or sustainability. So we make sure that our structures can stand the test of time. They can withstand the elements. They're going to be energy efficient for years to come. So the same thing ought to apply to your own business. And when you talk about durability in business, we're really asking, is your firm designed to last, not just for the next 5 years, but for the long haul? Durability means your firm can withstand external pressure, whether it's economic downturns, maybe some shifts in the market, some internal changes, maybe there's a transition in the leadership. So there are some key elements of a durable business, and they're going to include diversifying your client base. So just like you wouldn't want to rely on a single material in your buildings, you do not want to rely on a single source of income. Firms that depend on one or two big clients are terribly vulnerable. A diverse client base will protect you against any downturns in specific sectors. Your firm should not be reliant on one or two people. The goal will be to create a structure where your team can thrive without constant oversight from the owner or a key individual or you. The firm should be able to run itself, just like a well-built building runs efficiency with very little maintenance. A business thinking mindset means you look at the needs of the marketplace, you see where your skills and your interests can deliver some solutions. So as shifts occur, whether it's in technology or just in the marketplace, the more offerings you can provide, the more resilient your business will become. I always work with my clients to help them define their unique selling proposition. If all your firm does is look at the list of standard services provided, that the AIA provides as to what architects can do for your client, you are missing out on an opportunity to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. There are countless talented professionals who are out there for your potential clients to choose from. You have to be absolutely clear what separates you from your competition. And when a prospect asks you, maybe you're interviewing for a job, why should I hire you over one of your competitors? It's probably too late. They should always be aware of what separates you from everybody else out there. A resilient firm must constantly be in marketing mode. You need to put marketing on your weekly and your monthly agendas. Smart marketing is a constant process of refinement. However, a lot of firms think that all they need to do is do good work and they're going to get these referrals, and that is going to be sufficient to drive future business. And I have spoken on this topic in a bunch of other webinars, so I'm not going to go into it today, but please move marketing up the priority list in your firm. And again, send me a thank you note in the future when you reap the rewards from that. A sustainable firm is one that grows steadily without overextending itself. It's financially healthy with controlled expenses and has predictable revenue. So much like, again, designing a building for energy efficiency, your firm should be designed for financial efficiency, where the resources you invest yield constant returns over times. Think long term. The goal is to think about the future. You're not just building for today, you're building something that will continue to provide value for years, whether or not you are in that picture. Okay, Rebecca, we have another poll question here, which is, does your firm actually have a unique selling proposition? So the answer is going to be no, if you are similar to your competition. If you tell me, oh, it's our team that makes it special, or our fees are less than our competition, so that's what makes us different. That is no. The answer will be yes if it is clear from the moment someone visits your website. Every aspect of your business exudes that unique selling proposition. And you know your competition intimately, and you can state the unique selling proposition for your firm in less than 30 seconds. Or your answer is going to be, I really don't care, Steve. All that matters is we do great work, we have happy clients, and that's what makes our business run. So again, Rebecca, if you can see that the polling has slowed down, let's just go ahead and share that with everybody, because I'm about the halfway point here and still got good stuff ahead. Okay, so half of you, 49% of you, do not have a unique selling proposition. 47% of you say you do, and 4% of you don't care. And I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully, we'll be able to change that after today. So thank you for sharing that. So now we're going to talk about efficiency and profitability, two words that should be the foundation of every successful business. So in architecture, again, we talk about energy efficiency all the time. How does that building operate? And the same will hold true for your firm. Operational efficiency is how your firm functions day to day. Are your processes smooth, streamlined? Are they repeatable? Firms that are bogged down by inefficiencies, they lose time. And as we all know in this business, in any business, time is money. Time lost to inefficiencies is a direct hit to profitability. One of the simplest ways to increase your efficiency is through standardization. Just like we have standardized systems for construction documents or building codes and specifications, we need to standardize the internal processes of the firm. That includes everything from project management, client communication, how you do your billing, how you do financial tracking. When those systems are standardized, your team can work autonomously without constant oversight or reinventing the wheel every time a new project starts. And efficiency ties directly to your firm's profitability. When you operate efficiently, you're able to take on more projects without necessarily increasing your overhead. But profitability isn't just about taking on more work. It's about making sure every one of your projects is budgeted or priced correctly. You're not losing money because of maybe some hidden costs or scope creep that kind of gets in there and you don't monitor it and correct for it. Consider your firm's profitability like, I don't know, the structural integrity of a building. It's the foundation that will support everything else. So if you don't have strong profitability, your firm is always going to be unstable. It's constantly going to be patching holes. It's going to be very hard for you to grow or transition in the future. So I think every one of us understands the value of aesthetics, and we know how much a beautifully designed building will attract attention, it earns respect, sometimes desire, and the same is true for your firm's brand. Think about your firm's brand as the public face of your business. It is what future clients or potential partners, even buyers, or future leaders, this is what they're going to notice. So just like a well-designed building, your brand should be designed to stand out. And what makes the brand attractive? So the first is going to be its consistency. A firm's brand must be clear and consistent across all your platforms, from your firm's website to your social media presence, to your clients' communications, and to how you present your projects, and right down to the construction documents and construction sketches and everything else that you do. It should be consistent. Cohesive messaging creates trust, and trust is what builds value. And that's trust with everybody, with your employees, with your clients, with prospects. Then there's reputation. A firm's reputation is sort of like the quality of the materials that you might use in a building. You're naturally going to attract more opportunities if you are known for delivering high quality work and staying on budget and providing an exceptional client experience. So the more attractive your firm is to your clients, the more appealing it will be, again, to those potential buyers or those future leaders who want to be part of something successful. It makes even hiring employees so much easier and less churn that way. But branding is also about differentiation. So just like maybe every building might have a unique style or a feature that makes it stand out, your firm needs something that will set it apart. So what is your niche? What are you known for? So that firm that has a very clear identity and it has a very specific market focus or a standout design philosophy becomes far more valuable to somebody who's looking to take over that business or to invest in that business. And a firm with a strong, attractive brand will always be more valuable. It's not just about your work, but how you are perceived. Like a beautifully designed building might increase in value over time, so does a firm with a well-crafted, well-maintained brand. So now that I've covered how to design a firm that is durable and it's efficient and it's aesthetically appealing in the marketplace, we're going to move into the specific steps that you can take to ensure that that value is being preserved and is going to be able to be transitioned when the time comes for you to step back. And when you discuss transitioning your ownership, defining your vision and exit goal is going to be your first step. That is where everything starts. So again, just like designing the building, you begin with the end in mind. What do you want it to look like? How will it function? And the same applies to planning the future of your firm. So begin asking yourself, what do I want my role to look like in 5, 10, or 15, or however many years you decide? Are you looking for a complete exit? Do you see yourself staying involved, maybe at a reduced capacity? Do you want to retire entirely, or would you prefer to remain as a mentor or maybe a board member while other people take over the day-to-day operations? Next, think about the firm's future. What do you want your firm to look like without you? Is it going to continue to grow? Should it stay the same size? Should it pivot into new markets? Should it remain focused in its current niche because that is the future? These decisions are going to be critical because they will shape your succession plan. A firm that is designed to grow beyond you, it needs a very different strategy from the one that is designed to stay as you imagine it to be today. And finally, talk about the end game. What does success look like to you? Is it the financial security of selling the firm for a high price, or is it ensuring your firm's legacy? Maybe that you want that to continue with the same mission, vision, and values that you've instilled in it. Defining those goals up front is going to actually end up guiding every decision you make in this transition process. So then once you've defined what your vision is, your next step is financial planning and valuation, because that's where the rubber meets the road, because your firm needs to be financially prepared for that transition. And the first part of a financial planning is understanding what's that value. What value is your firm? You've built something over the years or decades, but do you know how much it's actually worth? And a proper valuation looks at more than just your annual revenue or your book value. It considers things like, is your firm consistently profitable? Are your margins healthy? Does your firm have long-term clients or contracts that offer predictable income streams? Maybe what proprietary processes or designs or tools does your firm own that might add value? A clear objective valuation is key to understanding what you can expect from a sale. It's not just about what you think your firm is worth. It's really about what does the market say your firm is worth. And once you understand the value, that your next step is financial planning. If you're selling internally to employees or part of your leadership team, how will they finance that purchase? Will it be an upfront cash buyout, or will it be phased over several years? If you're going to sell to an external buyer, are you financially prepared for the tax implications and the legal fees that come with that type of a sale? And don't forget your own personal financial planning. How much do you need from the sale from your firm to retire comfortably? And how will the timing of that sale impact your personal flow, cash flow, and your retirement goals? It's important to remember that preparing for the financial aspects of a transition, it's just as critical as the ownership side. And without a clear understanding of your firm's value and a plan for how that transaction is going to unfold, you're going to either leave money on the table or you're going to run into some pretty unexpected financial hurdles. So let's dive into some ownership transition models. You can take a number of paths when you transition ownership. We're going to look at maybe they each come with their own pros and cons. So I just want to explore a couple of standard models that we see. The first is an internal sale, selling to an employee or your leadership team or other partners of yours. It's a popular choice because it allows the firm to continue operating with the same culture and vision. The transition can be smoother because the new owners know the firm's operations, their clients, and the processes. They know them intimately. But these internal sales will require financing through a phased buyout or a loan, or you're one of those very rare firms that has cash holdings that you haven't been distributing as bonuses and you've been holding it in some other kind of a savings account. Now, your team will not probably have the upfront capital to buy your firm outright. So you might need to accept payments over time. Now, the upside is this keeps the firm in familiar hands, but the downside is you might wait to receive the total value of your firm. Now, the next option is an external sale, selling your firm to an outside buyer, often a more prominent firm who's looking to expand. Rarely it could be a private equity group. The advantage of the external sale is that it will usually provide a higher upfront payout. External buyers will typically have more capital, meaning you can walk away with the firm's total value when the deal closes. But there are these challenges as well. The external sale might mean that the firm changes direction or leadership styles, so that preserving that culture and your values that you've worked so hard to build is going to be challenged. It's also a more prolonged process because external buyers are going to do some extensive due diligence to ensure the firm is worth their investment. It's going to take a lot of your time away from the practice of architecture to managing the sale to these external buyers. And at the 11th hour, it could just all collapse. They could walk away and you've wasted a considerable amount of time. The third option is an ESOP, an employee stock ownership plan. Usually it's a trust that allows your staff to become shareholders of the company. And it's typically an attractive for certain kinds of firms because the employees' interests are aligned with the firm's success. So everybody's going to have a stake in your firm's performance, which will drive their motivation and it drives retention. But of course, an ESOP, it is going to be expensive and complex to set up. You're going to have to work with specialized lawyers and accountants, and the costs of creating it and maintaining it are going to be very high. They're subject to government regulations, so there's a lot of consideration that you need if you're going to do the ESOP. And finally, there's family succession, passing it on to maybe one of your children or a sibling, and it might seem to some of you like a natural choice, but it does also have its own challenges. Oftentimes it will blur the lines between your personal and your professional relationships, and especially if there's not some clear expectations. So that's going to create some tension. And it may also create tension amongst your other employees who are not part of your family and feel like they're being sort of leapfrogged by someone who hasn't invested as much as they have in your firm's future. So a lot to think about here. I'm going to have to move on. One of the most critical aspects of ensuring for this smooth transition is cultivating your leadership within the firm, whether it's being sold to an outside entity or being sold internally. You need to think of leadership as something that you grow, you nurture, you develop over time, much like you do any design project. You don't just wait for some leader to emerge organically. You actually create an intentional path for leadership so that they can mature within your team. And the first step in cultivating leaders is identifying the potential ones. Do it as early as possible. Look for people who are showing initiative. They've got problem-solving skills. They have a genuine interest in the firm's success, not just whatever project they're working on. They don't have those blindfolds on. These are the individuals who are going to be able to carry the firm forward. But identifying them isn't enough. You have to mentor and develop them. Just like you mentor junior staff in their technical skills, mentoring future leaders is teaching them the business side of running the firm, including project management, how you relate to your clients, financial oversight, strategic planning. The more they understand how a firm operates as a business, the better prepared they're going to be to take on the leadership role when that time comes. And remember, cultivating leaders isn't just about preparing someone for your job. It's about creating this culture within your firm where everybody understands the importance of leadership at every level. So that's going to ensure that there's a pipeline of talent being developed in your firm that will be ready to step up when needed, because sometimes the timing isn't right. And you might have a potential leader who wants that ownership before you're ready for that. But the pipeline means you have options and you're not going to be coerced by that one person who you might have turned into a key employee. Okay, so develop the culture inside the firm. So we're going to talk about empowering the team. So developing leaders isn't a one-time event or a matter of just simply giving somebody a title. It's about creating that culture where everybody has a sense of ownership and responsibility for the firm's success. One of the most effective ways to empower your team is by delegating real responsibilities. Give them ownership over critical aspects of the business, whether it's project management, client relations, or the financial oversight. And by doing this, you are going to lighten your load and you're going to give them experience and confidence. This is one thing that they need if they're going to grow into a leadership role. And another crucial element is creating a culture of accountability. When people feel responsible for the outcomes of their decisions, they are much more likely to take initiative, solve problems, and then that's going to drive your firm's success. This culture will also foster innovation. When your team feels trusted and empowered, they are more likely to take calculated risks that could lead to new opportunities or improvements in your firm's operations. And let's not forget about transparency. Leaders in training, they need to understand the full scope of this business. That means you have to share information about your firm's finances and your strategic goals. Share all the challenges. It's not all good news. The more open you are, the more they're going to feel empowered to contribute meaningfully to your firm's future. I'm also going to just mention, I often get a lot of pushback from firm owners who don't want to share details about the operations with their key staff. You need to get over this. You will grow when you have to teach others. Their questions, they may force you to think about things that you are avoiding. These are problems that make you stronger and they build trust between you and your key employees. So just like having them challenge a design decision of yours where the project's going to be the beneficiary of that dialogue, your firm is going to benefit as well when you bring them in for a firm critique. I'm going to share now, I promised you I was going to share this a case study about an actual transition. But I'm also going to do this by returning to an earlier discussion about how your firm is one of the most important investments you will ever make. So we're going to look at the exit of a founding partner and how the firm was valued, how much money he received upon his exit, and what the economics of his original investment looked like and what it meant in the long-term picture. And in this case, the firm had a buy-sell agreement, and it outlined 3 valuation methods. They were very explicit in how they were to be calculated. And after applying the 3 methods, they were going to take the averages of all 3. That was written in their bylaws. So the first method was to use a multiple of revenue per full-time employee. It's a KPI I often talk about at my webinars. And using that simple calculation, they outvalued the low end of the firm to be $2.8 million. And the high estimate put a multiplier of 1.5 on that KPI, and that valued the firm at 5.6 on the high end. Big swing right there, right? Next was using a multiple of the firm's operating profit, and it was to be tied over the past 3 years, which was calculated to be about $950,000. So there was a low multiplier, which was 4 times that, which valued the firm at 3.8 million. And in the high estimate, it was 6 times that, which had the firm at $5.7 million. Keep in mind, again, this is 20 full-time employees. There were a couple of partners. One of them was exiting, and the firm had been in existence now for 10 years. There was the last valuation method was using sales comps for similar firms in their geographic area. And these are typically not published figures, but there are brokerage firms, M&A advisories. There's other data available to valuation professionals to help them establish what are the current values of firms? What are the multipliers? So in this case, the low estimate was put the firm at a 2.9 million value, and the high estimate was 1.2 times that, which gave it a value of $4.5 million. So when you average all of these, looking at the lowest estimate, averaging the firm at 3.2 million, the high estimate was at $5.3 million, and the final number that this firm was valued at $4.2 million. And it could be different depending on what the calculations were to be used, but these were set out in the bylaws of the buy-sell agreement, and that's what they have to stick by. Okay, now the seller owned 50% of the firm. So his share of the firm was valued at $2.1 million. Now there was an extra discount that was being applied since the founder was selling his shares to two non-equity partners. It was decided that they were actually strong contributors to the firm's success, and that ought to be recognized in the purchase price. So the seller had the negotiation with them. These were not required, but they were negotiated, and they discounted that by 25% because those two junior partners were part of the reason that firm was so successful. So now that made the value of this partner's shares reduced to $1.5 million. Now, the firm also had cash on hand, which is not being considered in the valuation. The firm had $748,000 in a savings account, and that shareholder agreement stipulated any excess cash is going to be distributed pro rata. So first had to take out the working capital requirements, which was defined to be 3 months of cash on hand needed to be kept in the business at all times. So the seller also received 50% of that excess cash, which was another $124,000. So in all, upon closing, the seller received $1,711,000 for his 50% ownership in the firm. Now, the backstory is the two founding partners each invested $50,000 10 years earlier when they created the firm. They both wrote a check to their new business. And that was what they used to operate on until they really started to have a reasonable cash flow. And if you look at that investment, that is $50,000 that this person put in had a 32x return. And it grew at a compound annual growth rate of 42%. So had he taken his $50,000 and put it in an S&P index fund, it would have experienced an annual compound growth rate, as we talked about earlier, of 8%. And it would be valued at $108,000 after 10 years. Creating a firm is a high-risk, high-reward investment. If he didn't consider his firm as an investment, that opportunity cost was about $1.5 million. And lastly, the buy-sell agreement outlined that the firm could spread those payments out over 5 years. Those two junior partners just did not have the capital on hand, and we did not want to burden them to go out and borrow that money. So upon closing, he received the first of 5 annual payments of $317,000, but he also received that one-time $124,000, which was the excess cash of the business. And for 4 more years, every year for the next 4 years, a check came in of $317,000. So I just wanted to share that one sort of case study with you. I'm going to just before I get to Q&A, I'll just want to take a couple of highlight takeaways here. Please start your planning as early as possible. Don't wait, as I pointed out, until you think you're ready to make a transition. The sooner you address this, the better off you will be. Please focus on finding key individuals in your firm who could one day be the future leaders of your firm, and start mentoring them as early as possible, not just to be good architects, but to be great business owners. Learn about the value of your firm, check in on it every few years, adjust your own personal planning when you do that. Define what it is you want out of your exit. As I mentioned, you don't even have to sell your firm that way. You can keep it as an annuity, which we didn't get into. And also, don't be afraid to ask for help. There are professionals out there that work specifically in the AE industry and helping with sales transitions, mergers and acquisitions and that sort of thing. And finally, I just want to go back to delegation and leadership growth. As a firm owner, it's very natural to want to have a hand in everything. But to truly prepare your firm for the future, please start stepping back. That is where effective delegation comes in. It isn't just about handing off some tasks. It's about actually entrusting key responsibilities in your firm's future to future leaders. The goal, again, create a firm that does not rely on you to function day to day. You want to build systems and have processes that allow your team to operate smoothly, even when you're not there. And one strategy to do that is progressive delegation, where you gradually delegate more critical aspects of the business over time. Start small with decisions like maybe just approving budgets or managing a client relationship, and you build to the larger responsibilities, like overseeing the strategic initiatives for your firm, or maybe some new business development at tasks. And as you delegate more, you create opportunities for leadership growth. These leaders are not going to be developed overnight. They need to be challenged. They got to have to make some mistakes along the way. You have some bumps in their road. They have to learn from those kinds of experiences. And that's where your role will shift from being a decision maker to becoming a coach, helping guide them through their challenges, ensuring that they grow into these leadership positions. And the ultimate goal of delegation is just creating a self-sustaining firm where leadership just naturally emerges from within. This not only smooths your eventual exit, but it's going to add significant value to the firm, because a firm that runs well without its founder is far more attractive to potential buyers and future partners. As you empower your team and you delegate more responsibilities, you're going to be building a strong foundation for leadership. Okay. I think I want to have a couple minutes here for time, and hopefully we can stay on, Rebecca, for that. But I do have to say thank you to BQE Software for just inviting me to speak with you today. I do want to encourage everybody here who's attending to please say yes to a poll. And Rebecca, you can leave that poll question up while we take questions. Get a demo of BQE Core. It is a phenomenal business and project management platform. It's called BQE Core, and I can promise you that the time that you spend just looking at this product will be well spent. Because over the last 4 decades, I have learned that firms that implement smart technologies like this, they're not only high performing, but they use all the time and the money that they save, and they invest it in building a better firm culture or paying higher salaries, which attracts better employees and better clients. And these are the high performing firms that not only make being in business and makes it fun, but they provide the structure for creating high valued businesses in the future. And by the way, do your homework. There's maybe 4 solutions out on the market that are purpose built just for architects. So go look at all of them, ask them the hard questions, but make sure you see the product in action, get a demo, make sure it's the right fit for your firm. And with that, Rebecca, or maybe Courtney, if we have questions out there, I'm happy to hang around and answer any of those questions.
We do have a few questions, Steve. Thanks so much for that. Our first question asks, this may be an obvious question, but do you consider bonuses and profit sharing contributions in the net operating profit number? In other words, is that net number after bonuses and profit sharing paid out?
So I think this person might be asking about revenue. I'm not sure which valuation method they might be doing it. Look, these are discretionary. Bonuses are discretionary. If you have a profit sharing agreement, that might be not so discretionary. But in my experience, most firms use bonuses as discretionary. You don't have to pay bonuses if you have some other compelling investments you need to take care of. But when you do the analysis, profit is profit. And what you do with that profit is yours to decide, or the ownership's to decide. So when it comes from a valuation standpoint, it's going to be before you do any distributions of that sort.
Okay, thank you for that. Our next question asks, doesn't the ROI need to consider how much the owners took home each year in total compensation compared to what he or she might make working for a firm in which he or she did not own?
Yeah, and we've done this analysis in the past. You're generally, if you didn't take it home from your business, you would have taken it home in some other business. You would have had a salary, okay? But there are bonuses that you receive as well. So I have another presentation I've done where I've also looked at the annual bonuses that owner was receiving, not just their salary. So you take the salary out, that's because they would have had that probably anywhere. It's, nickel and diming if it's, you're working for somebody else, you probably were, because as a business owner, you tend to take a lower salary, and you may even take a lower salary than some of your employees. But the rest of it's paid out in dividends or bonuses, or just passed on to you. But we've looked at that analysis as well. And sure, you're going to want to look at that, because if it's a highly profitable business, you have a very low salary. My analysis looks at those when I look at what are the returns that that person had by investing in a business, and how much did they get back over the, in this case, 10 years for that particular individual. Good question, though.
Great, thank you. And we have time for one more question. This one came on early on from Kenny. As a sole proprietor, how can your firm run itself, as you say?
Well, I'm not saying that a firm's going to be able to run itself. If you are a sole proprietor and you have no employee, that's a problem. But if you have staff, whether they're employees or contractors, 1099 employees, people who are not on your payroll, but you are paying them to do that, that's going to be critical. So the point that I'm trying to make is, if you invest in building processes, so those people, whether they're a salaried employee or a subcontract, a contract employee, doesn't matter, making them work more efficiently is going to help make you more profitable. My point is, when you are ready to step back, that those people are typically not the ones who are going to buy your company. So what's the value? Because if your value of your business is you, then your business has no value to an outside buyer who's looking to see you remove. So I'm just encouraging people to build a value in a business that is not you. You have to probably find a key employee, which was that discussion I had with that example I was telling you about, a firm owner in Georgia who had some employees. They were not salaried employees, they were contract workers, but none of them were ever nurtured to become the future inheritor of the mantle of the firm. But that's why it's a lifestyle business for a lot of you. You just worked 40 years and then you walk away from it. And I'm just trying to point out that if that's the way you want to run your business, you're missing out on an amazing opportunity.
Great way to end. We are out of time, so I'm going to pass things back over to Rebecca with AIA California.
Thank you so much. And Steve, thank you so much to you for this informative presentation. There's tons of gratitude in the chat, which we mirror. Thank you to you. Thank you to BQE. And final note for attendees, if you've made it this far, we at AIA California will submit your one AIA learning unit. And this, unfortunately, is our last webinar with BQE this year, but more to come in the future. Look out for information from them. Thanks, everyone. Have a
Thanks,
great
everybody.
week. Bye.